Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy What's Brewing. We've got a full house. Yes. How many is this your very first What's Brewing? Raise the hands. Welcome. Hopefully we don't disappoint. This is an all-community show. This is not just my show. What's Brewing, actually, for those that are new joining us, and of course, just a refresher for those in the room, actually started in our club room with probably about 15 women that would come out and listen to the executive director. And really all she did was tell jokes and ask everybody what was going on in the world. And the teacups that were used were a resident's teacups, and she'd pack them all up and bring them up. And that 15 grew to 20, grew to 30. And before you knew it, our club room was full of men and women sitting there drinking tea, talking gossip. So as it's kind of evolved, we, I think, came in here at one point because we felt very congested in the club room, and I was not able to see everyone, and everyone wasn't able to see me. So we tried it one time in here, and what we quickly realized is this is more comfortable, and we can record it. So I try to stay on this side of the room generally so we can record it for those that don't get to come out or are unable to make it for appointments or such, and they can watch What's Brewing. So thank you for coming. I actually don't have a bunch of jokes to tell. I usually start with just kind of giving you the lay of the land or sharing updates that are top of mind. And I think there's probably plenty on all of your mind where you can either ask me what's going on and we can share updates, or questions that maybe we don't have answers to that we need to make note of, so then we can follow up and make sure we get things addressed. Because I do think we're big enough now that there's so many moving parts, from projects to move-ins, and there's always opportunity to get better and do better. So this is really an open forum. It's casual. The idea is I pass the mic so that those in the room can hear what you're asking or what you're suggesting, and hopefully we can enjoy some tea or coffee, depending on what you have, and Sandy's little goodies, which some of you have already enjoyed. I see empty plates. So the question is, did you eat it in one bite or two? Three. Oh, you were nibblers. Okay, I suggested just throw it back. Just one bite. Yeah, you'll need another one to sample it. There are a few extras in the back of the room. I was going to watch Patsy to see if she got one bite or two. So she's going to nibble on it. All right, let's get started. So what's going on? Most of you know we've opened up our art studio located out in our Tuscany circle. There are two circles there. The most north circle used to have an old laundry room, and that laundry room sat there since the 60s. And as we've evolved and remodeled, we were no longer using a common laundry center. So that space has been reimagined with the help of probably 10 residents or so, partnered with Joe Hansen to come up with all sorts of design layout, the must-haves in terms of storage or sinks or certain lighting. And it finally came to fruition. So we did a grand opening just recently. The space itself does have some basic policies. I've had questions come my way in terms of what's acceptable in there. So certain hazardous materials that may be used in art should be avoided. And we do have a resident ambassador of that space. Patty, will you just raise your hand? Patty Peterson, who is an artist, one of many here in the community, happens to live very close by. And out of peer pressure, I'm sure, has been asked to kind of be the resident in charge. Very similar to how we man our wood shop. The wood shop is available to all residents, but we typically have a resident or two that helps with the safety explanation, make sure people know what to do and kind of the lay of the land, and then folks can go in and out of that space. So we're treating the art studio very similarly. The idea is that we will, as a community, purchase some basic supplies to have in there, but what we learned throughout the many-year process of building that space, most residents don't expect to go in there and use common art supplies. Most of them have their own personal supplies, and that's the space in which they'll take their supplies to and complete their art projects. So we don't intend to have every single medium or every single supply needed for art, more so the space. And then, of course, as time goes on, we'll treat it similar to the wood shop. So if and when there are either equipment needs or supply needs, we would utilize resident council in addition to any administrative funds that were necessary to keep that usable and stocked for everyone. Milano courtyards. Milano courtyards are not done. Not done at all. We actually started that project several weeks ago, but even before that, we had met with a number of Milano residents. We put out some information saying if you have interest in our courtyards, have any say or suggestions, please join us. We started with one company, very quickly decided against that company when we were not getting immediate response in terms of a request for plant maps and certain imagery that we wanted to see before we moved forward. We ended up going back to Landscape Connection, which was the landscape company used when Milano opened in 2014. So they were actually the ones that planted the original landscape. They walked that space at least 3 times, either with our team and or with residents, and received a number of emails from Abby Hammett with suggestions about plants or questions or concerns about lighting. So we provided a lot of feedback to the company prior to them coming, demolishing, and installing. And what we saw is most of it is what we expected, but our south courtyard particularly is nothing like what we expected. It's very dryscape in design. And although appreciated in Fresno in a southern exposure courtyard, it's not anything like what this community has anywhere else. So it stands out like a sore thumb. Also, we learned that for whatever reason, they chose 1-gallon plants in our south courtyard, where they put 5-gallon plants in other locations. So considering it's the most sparse, to put the smallest plants possible just makes it hard to handle. So we have put a call back out to that company. We already have a contract with them. Well, they'll be with us for the next 30 or 45 days because of warranty, so that all dead plants will be replaced, all irrigation issues will be addressed. So that's part of what we signed up for. But the reworking of the south courtyard is happening. However, we don't have a schedule per se. So we've reached out. They're now putting us on the schedule, and we're working with them in tandem in terms of their availability and ours. What you should know is we're not happy with it either, and all of your feedback has been received. I've shared it personally with Landscape Connection, so I know they understand the vision that we had. And if you will just be patient and bear with us, I know that we're not happy with it. So if you have suggestions or feedback that you would like to be included in that, please send it to me via email. That way we can capture it in writing as we tell them exactly what we're wanting. But the hope is that we can get it to a place where, although it will be new and it will be different, it'll be acceptable. And I think that's really the happy medium. You have a question?
This isn't due to landscaping, but with the new pergolas that were put up in each one, the former one had another kind of a screen on top, so it made more shade than just the boards. And I was wondering if you know if that's planned to do again.
Yes.
Okay, that answers the question. Thank you.
Yes, all of the shade screens will be going back on the pergolas. And I've been seeing lots of communication back and forth between Daniel, maintenance supervisor, and Sherry in terms of placement of the furniture. So they've built a lot of the furniture, but apparently I'm the only one with the furniture vision. So when you get messages like, what's your vision? And I'm walking somewhere else, I'm like, I don't know what my vision is right now. So I will follow up with Daniel today so we can hopefully get the built furniture placed because I have the vision. What else? Water. Lots of water. I feel like water has been literally haunting us recently. Anything from water leaks, lots of water leaks. to water in the sidewalks, water in the roads, lots of water concerns. So I will tell you, more residents in the last 3 months have dealt with some kind of water issue than I can ever remember in all of my time here. We had 3 or 4 in Tuscany who had water leaks where with adjoining apartments, the leak was happening in one between the walls and it affected the other. That happened pretty extensively in Tuscany. We also had a water issue in Milano where a spigot on the exterior of the building caused damage on the interior of an apartment. So lots of that. And then Sequoia has been just water everywhere, apparently. Just water everywhere. So the team is very stretched when it comes to water. What I want to say about that is, one, I know about it. I think people worry that if only maintenance knows about it, I don't know about it. I will tell you, I don't know too much about of them doing stuff that I don't know about. I'm on everybody's group chat, apparently. So I do know about it. I also want to say that if you have any concerns around water in your apartment or around your apartment, if you will send the message to Brian and copy me on it. So when you're communicating, not just the phone call, but I want to make sure that systematically we're handling water concerns consistently, where a few of the times I've seen where like we've assessed it and we've thought we addressed it, but then it was not necessarily addressed, and that therefore ends up being a much bigger problem. I don't think intentionally, but that's what's happened. So until we can really get a response to our water situations, please, when you're sharing it with our buildings and grounds team, just include me on the communication so I can stay close to it. I just want to make sure we're staying on top of it.
And I hear, I hear when the people I believe that are below me use water in their sink, and I have no idea what room it is. After they've shut it off, I hear a dripping for about 5 minutes or so.
In the walls.
Yeah, because I can't find it in the house. I reported it, and they said the problem was cleared, but it hasn't. Thank you.
Yes, I will say Milano and this building as well. Maybe even Piazza, if you're there, tell me. If you occasionally somebody flushes or turns on, you can hear it. Yeah. If you're so right now in the sales office, there's a big TV unit on that one north wall, and if you're sitting in there, all of a sudden upstairs there's some, whether they're flushing or it's a sink that they're using, you hear this big gush of water. And you kind of look around like, it is just the way it's designed. So that's different than actual, you have a water leak and you need a response. But yes, any of the multi-story buildings, the way it's plumbed apparently is, yeah, to share the experience. Did I see a hand over here? I thought I saw something out of the corner of my eye.
I've noticed in our apartment, after the air conditioner runs, a lot of times you can hear water running, or at least we can hear water running in the cabinet in the closet where the air conditioning and furnace and stuff is. I don't know if that's, I've looked, I don't see any water physically see it, so I'm assuming it's running as a condenser, afterwards. And I'm wondering if maybe that's part of what people hear, because it's like once your air conditioner runs, if it runs for quite a while because it's trying to cool down, then you'll get that sound of water running. And it took me a long time to figure out where it was coming from, but it's coming from the closet where the unit is.
Yeah, those that are in Milano, your HVAC unit is in the apartment, so behind that louvered door. So it would not shock me if that's exactly where the noise is coming from. Yeah, Amy's now imagining that you all are just listening for water flow in your apartments. Don't worry about it. If you experience a water drip or leak or noise that's alarming that you haven't heard before, let us know. Let us know. That's all. I'd rather be overly enthusiastic about getting over there and assessing it than us thinking it's just a normal situation and it being a big deal. So, what's out there that you want to know about? Anything particular before I jump in? I have some resident experience stuff that I was going to share.
Can you give us an update on the bistro?
Bistro update. So for those that were not a part of the conversation early on, we are looking to reimagine or redesign our bistro. That building opened in 2009. The bistro is exactly as it was when it opened, minus maybe some paint and maybe some table movement, but the flow of the space is exactly the same. And if you've noticed, we've grown, and that happens to be a very popular place. So the idea was that we would redesign so that not just the flow of the space, but then the cooking space and the prepping space were adequate for what kind of volume we're pushing out of the restaurant. So we met with Scopos, which is a large entity that partners with Human Good to design restaurants or dining spaces in retirement communities, hospitals, nursing homes, you name it. They kind of have that industry is their specialty. They came out, they had an assessment, they provided a number of renderings or ideas. I shared some of those with groups, our dining committee and different meetings and small groups that we were a part of. Got some feedback around the entrance, the flow of the lines, particularly the columns that were in the space, and if we could work around those columns so we weren't navigating chairs and columns. All of that was shared. More recently, in the last, I'd say, month, we engaged an architect. The architect is separate from Scopos. They came out and did field work where they have to assess how many toilets are in the space and how many bodies will be in the room and all of that good stuff. And the one thing that's really been holding us up has to do with the door that exits east towards the pool that is rarely used. The original rendering from Scopos was that we push the door as far out so that that entire wall is flush. And then we would, gain some square footage, another table. I think it was 5 or 6 chairs. And of course, that was my preferred design because I would like to maximize the interior of the dining room. And when the architect came out, it ends up being a very extensive addition because there is no roof over that space. And the way, if you're ever interested, the way the roof cuts in with the grade and the solar, it ends up being close to $100,000 for me to do that. And I'm pretty sure Human Good's going to say no. I still told him I wanted it, but I'm pretty sure it's a no. That's a very expensive seat in the house, if you know what I mean. So what we're looking at now are some alternatives. The alternatives being the door goes away. It's not a necessary exit, and that it becomes a window so that we can at least bump table in front of it and still gain some seating space there. But it does change the original rendering. So that's in the works. The other big thing that popped up with the architect is when you add the extension outside, which we wanted to have a properly enclosed, ventilated, where you'd have mechanical louvers so you can close it for full shade or open it for a breeze. Once we add that, it adds to the capacity. And the capacity requires an additional toilet. And an additional toilet is not something we have room for inside. So we will do foundational work for that outside piece, but it will be done in a second phase to not trigger all of those other entities that get included when you start adding patios. So you're going to see a lot of the work on the inside happen and then the patio situation after the fact. So it's still very much part of the plan. We want to have it. We know that it will be a usable space if done properly, but the architect pretty much bursted my bubble on that one. Yeah. So right now it is with the architect. Once the architect brings back with all their comments, then we can go out for permitting. But what he has shared with me is there hasn't been a project in Fresno County that he has sent to permitting that he has seen anything respond to in less than 90 days. He said, I pretty much think they set a timer and on the 90th day is when they respond, which does mean that we're still sitting around waiting because then once they get it, then they have time to push back on it. So it could be late into the fall before we see anything happening. So your bistro is not going anywhere anytime soon. Continue eating there. Don't stress about it being closed in the next month or so. I'll keep you posted. It just did not have a lot of exciting news from the last visit from that architect. So it feels slower than I would like to share. But we still have the funds. The bond funds were guaranteed for us. So even if we open the project this year but don't actually see anything start happening in next year, the money is there and it's separate than our capital dollars. So we do intend to move forward with it. It's just not happening as quickly as I'd hoped. Yeah, and Julie said they won't accept a porta potty. I'm not going to lie, I did ask if they would accept the bathrooms on the other side of the pool because it is the same building. And he said no. But I felt like there was a lot of toilets very close to that place, but he said no. So yes, bistro update. Yep. What is the plan for food service when the bistro is down? I've shared this before. I have not actually put pen to paper to describe out a plan, but my initial plan would be to transition breakfast and lunch into Speranza, since that restaurant is closed typically outside of the salad bar, where we would maybe have a modified menu option, but a fully functioning kitchen and service. So we would just move that team into Speranza and serve breakfast and lunch out of Speranza. Yeah. That's my idea. When we built Bistro and we closed the existing restaurant, Mavis, were you here at that time? Anybody else here at that time? We opened up, Maxine we opened up portables in the Antonella parking lot. And at the time, our buildings and grounds director, his name was Tom. And he was a little bit of a, you know what I mean? What's the right word? Redneck. And we called it Tom's Town because we ate out of portables for a very long time. We're in much better shape, Sue, than that. Yeah, we don't have to bring portables back. But if we had to, it has been done. But we'll likely just move service. Yeah. What else? What other questions are out there that you'd like to hear about? Ofer wants me to announce there is currently an Xfinity service interruption that's affecting the entire community. The resolution ETA that Xfinity has told us is around 5:20 p.m. It's affecting multiple West Coast states. So we can just hang out together. You don't have to watch the news. Were you having problems? Yeah. Oh, she did the old just unplug it and plug it back in. It's bound to work. I'm proud of you for that, Carolyn. That usually does fix most things. It usually does. Yeah. Well, I'll pause for questions if they come up, but I want to share some of the summary results from our experience survey. I know that we've talked about this in the past in terms of why do we do surveys? What do we get out of the surveys? Do we listen to the surveys? All of that good stuff. I spend a lot of time in the surveys because it is a report card for me and for the team to know what we're doing right. More importantly, our areas of improvement and opportunity. I think most of you have been here long enough to know that just getting by is not good enough. It's not good enough for me. I know surely it's not good enough for all of you. So making sure that when we receive feedback, it's taken in a way that we can find the opportunity. There's plenty of things that are shared that I can't do anything with. I'll share some of that with you today. But there are so many things that we can do really good things with, so many suggestions. And I say this entirely from the heart. You all are extremely smart people, and you've walked lives that we have not experienced and can't imagine, with careers and expertise that we don't always have. So being able to partner with you to develop a community with our hiring needs, to our programming, to overall satisfaction, is something that's a privilege. I've been in customer service for a very long time, and oftentimes you don't get the opportunity to make it better and to make it right. And when we partner with you, we are able to do that. So this does mean a lot to us. And I know it takes a lot of time from all of you just to be able to give the feedback. So a quick recap, I do get a summary, which is kind of an AI generation of here's the top focus areas, the bottom, and then of course a full Excel spreadsheet of comments. And that's really where I spend most of the time. So I'm going to give you what the AI summary gave me just to keep it short and concise, but just know there's a lot of information provided once the survey was done. Engagement, so you'll see community score is TSJG's score against human goods overall score. This is all life plan communities, so they're rating us against life plan communities, not necessarily all the affordable housing. So community engagement, we had 84% against the overall human good of 81%. So again, shows a high commitment by residents to give us the feedback. The Net Promoter Score, you heard me say this already, of course, increased year over year. So it ended at 86 against human goods score of 72. So very proud of that. That just shows that residents and family members of TSJG are proud to share their experience with their friends, neighbors, and family. So again, at a high level view, what's going well? This is a general statement, but the community demonstrates strong overall performance, scores at or above organizational average and across nearly all areas. Amy and I chatted about this 2 years in a row where food is always going to be on there, always. And if I pulled food out, we start to grasp at areas of opportunity because overall it's very positive. So sometimes creating action plans around tiny adjustments was very, very difficult. Results are stable year over year, suggesting a consistent and reliable resident experience rather than just the little short-term wins. High engagement and NPS scores appear to be driven by strong relationships, a sense of community, and a positive day-to-day interactions. I think that's fair in terms of how we feel here in the community. I pulled comments, so the way the tabs work on the comments, they're very specific to the questions, and then there's kind of the other categories. But in summary, what do you think is the best thing about TSJG? And these are verbatim comments. The care and concern they have for us from the top down. The people, right? I think all of us say that. Those who live and work here make me feel loved, secure, and safe. The people came up multiple times. Quality of care. Again, keep in mind, this is also received by family members. So our residents in a memory support and skilled nursing and even assisted living in some instances, family members gave us feedback. A sense of being at home. I look forward with joy to spending every single minute of the rest of my life here. And then community. We care about each other and look out for each other. This is home. I feel a strong sense of contentment because of living here. So obviously that makes me feel warm and fuzzy. Where can we improve? So the two major points that came up in various ways and various questions, dining. And although this says service consistency, I'm just going to say consistency. So dining continued to focus on food quality, temperature, and the meeting resident expectations and the variability in day-to-day. So this is something we hear a lot in our committee meetings. It's like, how is it that we eat the same recipes with soup, for instance, and all of a sudden you get this one that had, potatoes the size of Texas inside of it, right? Who's making the soup that day? And there were a lot of suggestions made as human goods started to transition through dining about ways to prepare food so we do get consistency. Because What I know is the way we staff. So you'll have the person that makes the soup 5 days a week because she's here full time and everyone loves the soup. But on the 2 days she's not here, somebody else goes in and does it, and they're only doing it 2 days a week, and they're not nearly as good, right? So then you get that inconsistency. So how do we prepare soup for 7 days a week so it tastes the same 7 days a week? And those are things that Human Good has brought to Amanda and to Juan to be able to start to execute. Service consistency. So this came through in so many ways. Ensure experiences are as reliable as they are positive. Overarching, residents are satisfied. Maintenance folks are helpful. Caregivers are wonderful. People take care of me. It's happy. It's safe. It's all of these things. And the inconsistency comes through in things like the way we follow up. And I'm going to use myself as an example because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. There may be an occasion where you reach out to me that I don't get back to you timely. There may be. But I think overarching, for those that have worked with me from move-in till now, I take a ton of pride in trying to respond, even if it's a quick, I got it, thank you, or I see you and I tell you in person. That's super important for me. That is different with different folks, right? Some folks read an email or receive a voicemail and they take action, but they don't make sure you know that they're taking action, right? So you get one method from me and a different method from another director, and that feels very inconsistent. Ultimately, we're all striving to get it done for you, but how we make sure you know that is inconsistent. So I'm very aware of that. And I will say it's much harder to change people in terms of how they work versus just the outcome. If the outcome is positive and the resident is taken care of, go do that first. But how do I start to change somebody's response to email or a response to phone calls or their task list? Like everyone kind of has a different way of how they manage their workload. So we're working on ways for consistency to come through, whether it's you getting a confirmation phone call, whether it's you getting the thoroughness when a maintenance tech comes out, whether you're getting a ticket if they're not there. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. There's just little things, and I think I'm very aware of what they are, but it's trying to find a sustainable approach so that the consistency is felt. And I think my first step in that, if I'm just, again, speaking without meeting the entire team and getting input, is that they have to understand kind of the expectation. And the expectation is that that residents get communication. I remember when I started as the executive director, the number one thing you all told us is communication was terrible. There was incorrect information in the garden news, incorrect information on flyers, incorrect information in our Cubigo apps. And we really tried to, stretch ourselves to really clean things up. Now we have so many forms of communication, but again, I don't nearly hear as much of like, you said it wrong in the Garden News and you said it, wrong in the Tribune. It's more of like, you're saying it all the time. I would much rather say it all the time and it be consistent than say it 4 different ways and get everyone confused, right? So for us, consistency. What I will tell you about both of these things are you're not going to see an immediate difference overnight, right? Consistency is just us showing up in the same way and delivering each time in a way that you all are able to have trust that it's getting done. And that takes a little bit of time. The same thing goes with food. I think during our food dining committee, I've heard food's getting better. Food's getting better. The feedback that you all are giving Amanda and the team, you're seeing it. You're seeing that feedback come through. But again, there's plenty of opportunity. Consistency with food, preference, menu choice. I mean, anytime you're talking about preference and choice, and then you add the multiple venues, so variety, it's going to take a long time for you to feel that every bit of the food experience is perfect. I don't know that you'll ever feel that it's perfect, but that's not a quick turnaround. That's much slower. So I don't want you to feel like you've taken a survey and then you don't see results. Just know that the 2 things that we're really focused on are going to be a period of time in which we're showing you and building trust in what we're delivering, whether that's the food experience or your overall consistency. Any questions about this or comments? So I mentioned earlier, there are some things that you all give us that I can't do anything with. And I only bring them up because we don't always hear positive stuff. We do hear bad stuff too. And I know that the sentiment is not necessarily one voice, but we do get feedback that we can't do a ton with. The ones that came through most frequently, and some that were a little bit hard to hear and read, short-staffed. That we're short-staffed. We have almost a 1-to-1 ratio when it comes to team members. We have a very high staffing ratio. I know it doesn't feel like that because people call out sick, people go on vacation, people have family emergencies, and the more people you have, the higher probability is that you're going to have call outs or people missing, right? So just to add more people is frivolous. I would need to be very, very careful where I add people because people cost money and I pay for them with your monthly fees. So there are areas in which we've explored. Transportation is a strong area where we have a lot of need. And as we have a growing community, we have a growing need. But I wouldn't just add a driver right away. We would really look at that and find, can we staff differently to stagger so maybe we can get later appointments accommodated. We'd look at approaches before we just threw an extra person in the mix. Trees were another one that came through. Lots of tree comments. I know we have a lot of experts in mastery gardening and such, so a lot of tree comments. Communication among departments or managers. So I think this is the feeling of just inconsistency and passing the buck. There are instances where if you tell me or you tell that director, look, this is something that slipped through the cracks, we have to be able to know the situation to address it, right? I can't do a lot with that because it's after the fact and it's anonymous, right? So I don't know where we're dropping the ball. Management wants to run all of the committees. No, I don't. I would rather not even have to go to them. But I do go to them, and usually there's 1 or 2 team members with 12 to 20 residents. So again, I don't know the feeling of that, but you could see how I'd think I don't know if that's a sentiment or that's just somebody that's upset with me being in the committee. And then at the very bottom, this is a very unhappy person, which is not the majority, and I know that. But I would say this, whether the person is here or watching, or this gets back to the person. If someone is on campus and feels this way, I would really appreciate time and the opportunity to have a conversation. Because if this is not the right fit, we should do something as an organization, myself as the executive director, to find a way to make it right for that person. And it may be that they move out, and it may be that they move out with their entire entry fee. I mean, truly, we wouldn't want somebody here that was that unhappy, right? So I don't know if this is just a bad day or if this truly is the feeling, but if it is the feeling, I would love the opportunity to chat with that person. So again, these being anonymous don't allow me to fix it, but I would hope that we could have a conversation to possibly make right or find solutions for this individual. Okay. Let's get to the positive stuff. You guys were squirming around in your chairs at the last one. Suggestions. As I shared with you when we started, there's a ton of wonderful feedback that comes through resident surveys. And because some of these were longer, I didn't get as many of them on the screen, but I will promise you there are dozens. Anything that helps with low vision or other disabilities, this is something I feel like we embark on a little bit and then we kind of fall back. And then they gave options. Valley Center of the Blind is always a great resource. Continuing OFER to teach tech classes for low vision, how helpful that is, especially because technology can help people with low vision, so we can put the two together. New device presentation would be great. So if there are new devices in the market or new devices out there that folks can have in their homes to help with managing finances or answering the telephone or filing or whatever it is, having those experts come on campus to go through those pieces of equipment. Also collaborating with local stores and experts, Ray Fisher with all the durable medical equipment that they handle, and A to Z in terms of they call it DME. So lots of things out there to help people in their home. And independent living would be treated just like if you were living at home. So if there were things that you needed to navigate safely or to be more comfortable in that space, just leaving it to us, I mean, we really have not ventured out and looked with local experts. So I love this. A primary initiative for me is healthy eating, and I'd be interested in any program that would provide a whole food emphasis and decrease of heavily processed foods. I love this. We're embarking on human good dining, and how nice would it be? I mean, we loved when we had Annetta come in and give her food chats. I mean, if it's not someone in our own community, are there experts in the field that can come in and talk about that can help not just residents, but help our dining team as they plan menus and coordinate with the nutrient analysis? Fitness variety, I think we all know that we love Nick and Nick's courses, but I have definitely seen over my 17 years a variety of things, anything from ballroom dancing to Tai Chi to meditation to square dancing. But I also am noticing more interest in brain health. So is that something that our team inside can provide? Is that something that we can outsource? Develop a better resident ambassador program. So offer tours and help orient new people. So all of you go through a pretty extensive tour when you're going through the sales process, and then you narrow it down, and then you spend months dreading the move, and then downsizing, and then packing, and then unpacking, and then you survive the move, and then you realize you're in a place that you're not entirely familiar with. Years and years ago, there used to be somebody from the marketing team. We were a much smaller community then, so I don't know if it's feasible in this manner, but they would host on a monthly basis a group tour. So they'd go out to the kind of the stretch of the community. So if you live in Milano, you're probably never out in the Tuscany area. You probably never check out the wood shop. You probably haven't toured assisted living. So finding a common tour path that we could introduce to our residents. But also, I think this is a better partnership with our resident ambassadors. Like, what truly do residents need to know in each neighborhood, because it is unique, and developing kind of a criteria rather than everyone just kind of do their own thing. And I'm not, I know Belva, if Belva's here, I'm not misspeaking. You guys are putting together more than we've had for a very long time. But I'm just thinking of all of the ways where maybe small discussion groups, what do people need to know in Milano? What do people need to know in Tuscany? And creating almost, if you're a Tuscany ambassador, these are the things you must do. So it's not left up to individual assessment, and it varies, and everyone's experience is different. It would be very similar. So again, really good feedback. More consistent offerings of knowledge-based aging, like supplements, common medications, different support group offerings, upgrade some of the offerings like meditation. And then this was an interesting suggestion. I'd like to see a quiet outdoor location for meditation, right? So finding a place on campus that, and again, this isn't me, maybe this is a partnership with residents, but I know other communities in Human Good have like a walking labyrinth or certain gardens where it is kind of a quiet, peaceful space. So just a few. These obviously caught my mind because I got excited because either I could see it coming to fruition or understand how this could benefit the community. But there's a lot more where this came from. So we'll be focusing on these things because we can do something with them. So we'll review comments at our next leadership committee. We'll pull out the common themes, which I've already started to do. Obviously, the number one piece of feedback was food. Even though the comment was food consistency and food variety, which is pretty much the norm, it wasn't nearly like last year where it was like the food is crap. It wasn't that bad. It was like more variety or less fish. It was like those kind of things. We can work with that. So we will definitely keep food as a priority. Know that that's a process. I don't want that to consume all the good things that we can garnish. So we'll be working on that in conjunction with bringing other things to the forefront that will impact and make a difference in your experience. All right. Any thoughts, comments, suggestions on that? No? All right, we've got a few more minutes. Are there questions or things you want to know?
I don't think I need a microphone.
But on the video, they won't hear you. Yeah.
I was wondering about the photo shoot we did a couple of months ago. I've seen a few pictures on internet, social media. Is there any chance that those of us who were participating will get to see all of those pictures? And what's the plan for you to roll out the new photos?
Amy, will you make a note of that so we can ask Emily to follow up? So I was told that anyone in the photo shoot will have access to the photos. So I did hear that in the beginning. In the past, I don't know that they necessarily consult with me when they design and develop or refresh the website. Typically, it's once it's done, I kind of get a link that says, hey, we've spent time, go check it out. And I have not received that. I do know that they had a pretty aggressive timeline to get to like X amount of communities with that photographer. So I will have Emily from our sales office follow up, and then we'll get something out to you.
I've noticed that I haven't heard the military planes coming screaming over campus for the past week or so. I was just curious if they've changed their flight pattern now or if they've moved back to Lemoore. It's really added to the quality of life here not to have to listen to that.
Does anybody know? I will say one of the suggestions on the survey was for me to move the flight path. So you're welcome. I took care of that for you. You're right. I haven't noticed. I have not noticed the planes in a very long. Watch us say that. They're going to come today at 3:30. Yeah. Last Wednesday they were overhead. 4 of them. They counted them. Well, that was before I worked on moving the flight path, Sue. The wind. Oh. So they don't always fly the same direction. Into the wind. So we're going to pray for east wind. You got it. Yes. Yes. We'll pray for the east wind. Interesting. That was a good observation, Phil. We just picked it apart, though. They were here. There were 4 of them. Tomorrow, the wind will be northbound. We'll get extra dose of them. Yeah, so much for a quiet meditation place outside, right? Yeah, don't meditate at 10 a.m. when they're flying overhead.
When I sit in Milano and looking out the window, I see a fire plug across the street. I don't know how many other people have noticed it, but it has a colored top. The fire department uses 3 colors for their fire plugs, and that one is painted saying it only meets the very minimum state standards. I don't like the fact that we're only bare minimum. Green means their hoses have enough power to reach other buildings. Is there anything that can be done to contact the fire department and see if that can be changed in any way, shape, or form for our safety?
Where are you?
If you look, I haven't gone over the whole campus,
Okay.
but just right across from Milano.
Okay.
I'm not from Milano, I'm in the bistro.
Okay.
You sit in the bistro, you look across, and the fire plug is saying, I just meet the standards. I'm not super powerful. I'm not as powerful as you would like to have.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything that can be done.
Bill was mentioning when he sits in front of Bistro and looks across the street, the fire plug, am I saying that right? Fire plug is painted green. No, it's not green. It's what color? It's the standard color. And he's asking if there's anything we can do to upgrade that, because the standard means it doesn't have the bonus hoses or water capacity. So I know nothing about what you're explaining. So let me dig in. Fire plugs and colors and water hoses. You got it. I will call the fire department across the street. And I'm sure Brian knows much more than I do when it comes to fire. Yeah, there may not be anything that can be done.
It'd be nice to know it's got enough power to reach
Yes. He just wants to make sure we can put out the fire in his building. I respect that. I would want that too. Yeah. Yeah. He's not being selfish. He cares about all his neighbors in that building. Did I see a question? Did you have a question? Yeah. You do?
This isn't a question. I just wanted to remind Bill that we do have the fire department right across the street from this community.
Maybe that's why we're only getting the standard hoses. They bring their own hose. Yes.
This is kind of on the same subject of fire. Since I'm in the 3rd floor of Milano now, and I don't walk that well anymore, I wonder, have they ever practiced with the staff using those things that are going to get us out of the 3rd floor? I always remember Bill something. He used to stand on the balcony and say, "Don't forget me, don't forget me."
Every single team member on campus has practiced. With those yellow chairs. In fact, every team member that's been hired goes right here to the top of Valencia and goes down this stairwell with the slider chair with somebody in it. Every single new resident or new team member orientation. And before the chairs were here, because we have people working here that came before the chairs are newer, has had to go through that training. It's a requirement. So yes. Does that mean that they're going to say like every one of them's like, oh, I'm an expert? I'm sure there are people that are like, I've used it once during my training, or annually we go back to it and show them again how to do it. But it's extremely easy to use. Like you could use it. They're very, very easy to use. Yeah. They look scarier than they are. Huh? That's what I said, annual, then we go back. Yeah.
Is there a list of people that need those so that they know where to go? Because we had a lady fall in ours. So I was just curious.
No, it's not inventoried. Anybody, I mean, you can be completely ambulatory and still use the chair. So there's not a list where the residents line up and say, okay, I'm on the list and I use it. The instruction would always be, if you are in Milano or Piazza, and this always ignites a fire conversation, that if there is a fire in your apartment, you evacuate. If there is a fire in the building, you are able to stay in your unit until someone evacuates you. However, during an evacuation, if you're ambulatory, you can walk down the stairs. If you are non-ambulatory, you would wait in the stairwell. So then we would take them down the chair. Yeah. Stairwells are fire rated just like the apartments. So that would be considered a safe space outside of your apartment. Yeah. I'm glad. What else? Anything else? Were you being shy? What's going on?
I don't know if you've ever noticed, but Alexis holds the microphone right here, almost touching. In fact, some speakers will rest it on their chin. And it's a big difference than if you're out here. And having done a lot of speaking, and there were a lot of good things said, didn't hear a word about the fire hoses and nothing. Because we can't hear you. I'm deaf, but I know some of you aren't, but I bet everybody in this room has some level of hard of hearingness. So and I love to hear your comments. So I recommend that you just put it as close as you can and don't be afraid of it. But watch her and learn. She's doing it right. That's why you hear her and not us.
I learned this from Kathy Self. She told me to put it on my chin. But then when you guys see me after the meeting, I have no makeup on my chin. I just wipe it all off. My chin's all rosy. Well, not too many of you brought your mugs to share, but a few people did. And Amy picked up some chocolates here. I want to share first that I did bring my mug. Remember when I came back from Mexico and I forgot it on the dining room counter? Here it is. She's straight from Guadalajara. Very, very pretty. I've picked up one each time I've went there, which I love. So I've, of course, Hale, just for the sake of showing off my favorite mug, go ahead and show everyone my favorite mug. He brings it for me every time. It's so dainty. It's my favorite. Oh, I have to read it. It's tiny reading. Okay. Oh. Always be joyful. Never stop praying. Be thankful in all circumstances. And then thesis and the scripture at the end. Oh, she said that will help. That's how our attitude should be here. I agree. That's perfect right after the survey responses. And this is Carolyn's first time coming. Patsy, do you want to show your mug off? Where did you get it? This is because she's always happy. So she carries her happy face mug. I probably got it Kmart or something. It was the fancy mug at the time. Well, the winner today comes from a couple that you guys have to share this because they taught me something, which I didn't know a lot about. If we'll show it off. So she says, Alexis, do you know what mind the gap means? Yes? I didn't know the origin of mind the gap. I didn't know that. So what? And these two mugs complement each other because he's got the Sherlock Holmes 1881 from the Sherlock Holmes. Yeah. So this is from London, 2218 Baker Street to be exact. Which I thought, first of all, kudos to you for bringing coordinating mugs and for teaching me something. Thank you. Thank you. Mind the gap. Oh, I didn't get to see yours. I did walk around. I have to check it out, though. Let's see. It's way harder to do here. Please go away. I'm introverting. That's a good one. That is harder to do here, right? Yeah, especially as a new resident. If you got, did you pull the green stickers off? I always tell people, keep your green flag on and then just milk it because you'll be the newbie and they'll take good care of you. But if you're an introvert, you walk out of that office and you rip that green thing. You're like, I want no attention whatsoever.
What does mind the gap mean?
Do you want to explain it? She said, what does mind the gap mean?
Mind the gap. When you ride the underground in London, which is known better as the subway, because the tube, they have newer cars, and so they don't quite fit on each of the stations. So there is a gap between where you step off the tube onto the platform, and it varies from station to station. And so you will hear every 25, 30 seconds, mind the gap. And there are signs all over the place because there's a lot of people getting on and off, and you don't want your leg to get down into that gap.
So don't fall on your face. Next time you're in London.
I bought a sign that said mind the gap and put it up in my house where you had to step down, and so that people would look and be careful about it. It was up for a million years.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was one of those things where she's like, do you know what this means? I'm like, I feel like I should know what that means, but I did not know the origin. So we learn something every day. All right. We are just after 3:00. I will stick around for those of you that were too shy to bring your questions forward. Again, if I can just thank you for those that have provided suggestions and feedback, and just know any time is a good time for feedback. You do not need to wait for the resident experience survey. If something is not right, if you're not feeling heard, if things are not being addressed quickly, let me know. I don't think it's ever intentional to not get back to everyone, but I do think there's a lot always going on. So we drop the ball sometimes. So I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your communication. And more than anything, I just appreciate partnering with all of you. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Stay cool. Have a nice afternoon.